Thank you. The chair will now recognize Representative Costa for
Thank-
5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. I want to turn back to the issue of critical minerals, specifically as it relates to Ukraine. Today is the 4th anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. I remember being in classified briefings in the months leading up to that invasion about how long this might last, 4 or 6 weeks. Putin apparently thought 3 days. The brave Ukrainian people have been standing up for their sovereignty, and we have been part of a coalition that has tried to protect and allow them to stand up for their sovereignty. I remember Senator Graham talking and others of my Republican colleagues that it was a clear case 4 years ago about good versus evil. I still believe it's about good versus evil. The administration, to its credit, recently signed an agreement with Ukraine on critical minerals. But for that agreement to come to fruition, Ukraine has to win the war. Most of these critical minerals are in the Donbass region that Russia currently occupies a part of. It seems to me that the president suggested that Ukraine give up that territory, even though Russia has failed to conquer that territory after 4 brutal years of war, makes Ukraine more susceptible to Russia's, and by the way, Russia has broken every agreement they've made over the last 25 years. Makes it more vulnerable to attack. So how do you expect us to capitalize on Ukraine's critical minerals given all these factors? I don't see it.
So the first step, Congressman, is obviously ending the war, bringing about an orderly end to.
Yeah, it was going to be 24 hours. It's going to be real easy. The first day I come into office, it'll be over.
This war. If I could just answer your question. So President Trump shares your goal of wanting to end the war. He has actually kept in place all of the sanctions instated by the previous administration. Not only that, but he's actually added sanctions on the 2 largest oil refineries and oil companies in Russia. The goal is to paralyze Russia's logistics and its biggest sources of revenue because we want to deprive Russia of the resources that it is using to prosecute the war. That is very much the premise behind the president's support for the Sanctioning Russia Act, which is a historic, incredibly far-reaching bill that would impose 500%
Let me go
tariffs.
beyond that, and I appreciate your response, but we have a piece of legislation in the Senate that has overwhelming bipartisan support that would add further sanctions, to your point. In addition to that, we have further leverage, and the president likes to talk about having leverage, but when you talk about Putin understanding that we're continuing committed to support with our allies in NATO, Ukraine's effort to stand up for its own sovereignty, I think is the real leverage that Putin will ultimately understand. That's my view. And let me shift over here now to China, artificial intelligence and chips. I read that you've written a book, Wires of War, Technology and Global Power, Struggle for Power, calling for stronger U.S. strategy against China's technological ambitions. I haven't read the book, but maybe you can get me a copy and you'll autograph it for me. My concern is that, I don't know if you agree, but China, for every administration, is a challenge because 1, they're an adversary, 2, they are a competitor, and 3, they are a vast market. And in those 3 areas, it makes it a real challenge for any administration. But because we agree that the technology is critical, you mentioned the new safety framework of the G42 and implemented this week. You talked about safeguards, rails to stop China from accessing chips from G42 and in the UAE. I concur, but why are we selling chips, some of the most advanced chips, to China? It makes no sense.
Congressman, thank you for your question. And if I may, I'd like to characterize the administration's strategy for winning the AI race. Last year, President Trump delivered a landmark speech that focused on where he declared that the United States would win the AI race. The United States is the birthplace of where the AI race began, and we're committed to winning it. He rolled out an executive order. There are 3 conditions that have to be met for America to win the race. We need to have secure supply chains, we need to have the world's best AI innovation, and we need the most market share. Sometimes when we diffuse technology internationally, that can create a trade-off in our qualitative edge for innovation, which is why this debate remains so vexing. What we have done to maintain that edge, instead of artificially restricting access to American technology, is actually forge historic AI deals in the Middle East, which is really America's equivalent of the Belt and Road Initiative. And this graph provides you a visual illustration of market share and innovation, and winning the AI race would really mean that we want to end somewhere up into the right of this graph.
Well, my time's run out, but I think we may have to agree to disagree, because I think the current effort to sell advanced chips to China is in direct conflict of this graph and what you're trying to do, what we all believe is in our own self-interest. And I think we need more discussion on this area. I'm very concerned about our national security in selling advanced chips to China. I